So we start again.
Yeah.
Getting more relaxed now.
Yes, maybe, yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yes.
There's nothing serious in the world.
No, you're absolutely so right. I know. And still, when it's always, isn't it? One looks forward to something with all this anticipation, and then the moment arrives, and you just want to be there in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you always are, I guess. Yes. Thank you.
Well, we all are, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's just being aware of that. Just noticing.
Yes.
Hello, we are Claudia and David from the Lifework Germany. Welcome all life workers, viewers and listeners. Today Claudia and I have the honor, the privilege and above all the pleasure of giving a warm welcome to Byron Katie. Hello Katie.
Hello. Hello, you two.
Hello.
It's great to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for joining.
So much fun getting hooked up this morning.
If I may just briefly introduce Katie. Katie, you're an internationally renowned author, spiritual teacher and trainer. You've trained thousands of people from all over the world for many, many years. You've written very many successful books. If I may just mention a few titles for those of our viewers and listeners who haven't read that much of you. There is Loving What Is.
I translated immediately. It is in German. It's called Lieben, was ist.
I Need Your Love. Is that true?
Ich brauche deine Liebe. Ist das wahr?
Who would you be without your story?
Wer wäre ich ohne mein Drama?
And 1,000 names for joy, living in harmony with the way things are.
1000 Namen für Freude. Leben in Harmonie mit dem Tau.
So the titles of these books really tune us into what you're about, what your work is about, and I'm going to come to the most important thing that you've brought to the world. It's your method of inquiry, the work. Mm-hmm. As you know, Claudia and I are organising the Realize Yourself Online Summit, and the reason for us to do this summit was to get back to square one, really, to ask ourselves the fundamental questions, the questions that have moved us for the greatest part of our lives. And if I may, just put those questions into the space. Just throw them into the space. Yes? Thank you. What is behind creation, for example? Who am I really, really? So I'll just start off with those two, and I think we'll just take it from there, if that's okay with you.
Sure. So would you ask again? Just one at a time?
Okay. Well, I'll start with the one that we've kind of put at the top. Who am I really, really?
Okay. And first, you really have to want to know. You know, to with inquiry, to really ask with intention, and then get very still and notice. So, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Did you have breakfast?
God, that's a good question. Did I have breakfast? No, I didn't have breakfast this morning.
Okay.
I had a drink, yes.
So, where is your proof that you did not have breakfast this morning?
It's a memory.
And memory is just a word for the past, the illusion of the past. So if you look at what you saw in your mind's eye when I asked you, did you have breakfast this morning? You saw images that were vacant of breakfast this morning. But you also had images of where you usually breakfast.
Absolutely, yeah.
So all of that is there. So you can see an image of you having breakfast on any morning. You see that?
Yes.
Now, is that you?
That's a story.
So anytime you experience, I am having breakfast, I am a woman with children. For example, I have 3 children. Okay, so where's my proof? I saw images, and so did you, of my children. It doesn't matter if you saw 3 girls or 3 boys or 2 of each, 1 of the other. It just doesn't matter. When I say I have 3 children, we all have these images.
Yes.
And they appear to keep us connected when actually they're keeping us separate. So we see me now identified as a mother with 3 children. Okay, now when you see me as that mother, or I'll put it this way, when I see me as that mother and I see those images, are they real or is that pure imagination? That is not me. That is no proof that I am a mother. So who am I? So when you're meditating on I am, and you question that, is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true, for example, that you've ever had breakfast? I am the man who's had breakfast. Anytime you question that, again, only 4 questions and turnarounds. I am the man who had breakfast. That is I in that image. Is it true? Is that you? You see you this morning? You see you yesterday? You see you coming to work this morning? You see you having a cup of tea or coffee this morning? You see you walking? You see you sitting down? Are any of those images you? So if that's not you, who are you? So notice how you react when you believe the thought. For example, you had breakfast, or that you walked into the room that you believe you to be sitting in. How do you react when you believe the thought? You're completely identified. That is I. That is my past. I lived it. And your only proof is pure imagination. And every image is even in the past. Now, what I am speaking to now is how you react, and all your viewers, all your listeners, this is how you react when you believe the thought. You know, did you wake up this morning? Were you lying in bed this morning? Did you walk today? You have no proof. But how do you react when you believe the thought? You pass the illusion on. And that continues to keep you identified. So the answer to who am I becomes so much fun to try to find you rather than guessing and living out the mythology of who you have been, and we call that the past, rather than believing pure imagination to be awake to it, to be aware of it. And it doesn't mean we can't talk in the way that people appear to talk in the world. We don't have to be weird about it. It's just in our everyday moment. Like you just did this with your head. Okay, do you see that now? It's gone. it's over. It's only an image in the past that would allow you to believe that you're even here now. Here now is a myth, but it is the most, it's the closest thing to truth. You know, just be here now is a state that we are awake to when we begin to notice that there is no I. There is no I other than pure imagination, and imagination is not real. It's like a movie. And that's me giving it a lot of credit. Because that movie, you know, is, as the real appears to play, it's always over. So how do I react when I believe the thought I had breakfast this morning? Well, I tell my husband, oh, that was delicious. Remember breakfast yesterday? Wasn't that marvelous? And remember our time together? And remember that when the children called us last night, and they called us, and they have problems, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So it keeps this mythology rolling, because, and we're speaking and talking out of images. So how do I react when I believe these thoughts, these images are me, are I? Then I just keep the mythology going. And as we say, it's like the ego staying identified as object, as though this were self. But ego is vigilant, in other words, imagination, completely vigilant to stay identified as something, as anything, because pure imagination is nothing. In other words, it's not the material world. So we are an illusion. So I had breakfast this morning, turn it around, and I'm just, for your viewers that are familiar with the 4 questions and turnaround, I've simply walked you through the answers to all of those from this mind. So then to turn it around is, I had breakfast this morning, and for me, I didn't have breakfast this morning, and so we're meditating on that. But I see me, and the food is still in my teeth, and oh, there's the food in my teeth from breakfast. That's my proof, okay? And so we're meditating on this opposite. I didn't have breakfast this morning, okay? Let's see, there's my proof. I've got toast in my teeth. Okay. And I see the illusion of me chewing the toast, and that's my proof. Is it true? It just is. It appears to be. No history believed. It's like some kind of amazing miracle. Always different, never the same, whether that is compared or not. Never the same. Comparison is just another illusion to keep us here and there. And it's okay to talk out of that way, and to say I had breakfast this morning or I didn't have breakfast this morning, but to be awake, because those images are always there, and what we are believing onto, the language we're believing onto those images seems so real that it would even lead us to believe that we exist as we believe. So it's I hope this is well, just say it this way, if you have any questions, because this is quite that's quite a question you ask. And meditating on the 4 questions and turnaround, in other words, this inquiry, and these questions are always free at theword.com there, and how to sit in them. But anytime you're doing the work, it's just pure, it's about just getting as still as you possibly can and just noticing, I am so stupid. Sometimes people think, oh, I did it wrong. Okay, so where's okay, I see maybe the past 5 seconds ago, 5 minutes ago, 5 days ago, 5 years ago, 50 years ago. It doesn't matter. That image is in my head, and how do I react to when I believe the thought? I feel guilty, and I watch all that movie of I am so stupid. It's funny I'd come up with something like that, but it's popular. It's a universal belief. Sometimes we think about other people, sometimes about ourselves, but it doesn't matter what identity we put it on. It is coming from one's own apparent self. So if it comes to us, we can meditate through it, and in that wake ourselves up to reality until every moment we understand. Like I see this glass of liquid I was drinking, and I see that I've drunk, more than half of it, but I don't believe it. It is this miracle just sitting there with no history. And it's so green and so lovely and so beautiful, and the glass, and there's no way of knowing what it is. So we move into the experience of that don't know mind. And it is just, oh my God, we don't have to know what anything is to appreciate it. In fact, that's about all it does leave. It's just this state of connection and oneness, and to know that the only identity we're ever going to experience, emotions will show us.
You once said that life is like a movie. It's also an image, of course, but I don't know. Is this a worth question to ask? Where is the movie come from? Yeah.
So, what movie would that be?
Don't know.
Well, certainly the movie that
you see that there is a movie. Is it true? Where did the movie go? You're in the past again. So meditation will show you the answer to every question.
Yeah.
So are you saying that if I'm in the now, there's never a movie? The movie just disappears.
It's completely laughable. So it leaves you in good humor.
That's nice.
And when people, I'll refer to them as believers, when people are upset or having a problem, it leaves you as a listener. It leaves you connected. It leaves you in a deep, connected state of mind. And it's just so beautiful to listen. To listen. Let's say, for example, if one of my children are in trouble, they think. Or I think of my children, the worst that can ever happen to my children is what they're thinking and believing. And so I can listen when they, let's say they appear to have a problem, or one of my grandchildren. I know they're okay. They don't know it. And I don't have to say you're okay, because egos don't listen. Egos have to prove they're right and keep that identity. But I can listen, and in that state of mind that is so connected and understanding, I understand what it is to be a believer. And in that, they talk all the way through it, and they just say something like, "Oh, Grandma, you helped me so much," and I'm just there with the understanding, and say, "Grandma, have you ever had a problem like that?" And I can say, I just tell them the truth, whatever it is. I appeared to have a problem, but actually I didn't. There are truths like it all works out.
Can I?
They don't have to listen. They don't have to hear. It's just that I'm very patient with believers because I understand the pain and the sorrow and the pain of that.
For me, it's you hold really. I don't know if it's a good explanation, but for me, it's the 4 questions are like doors, and behind is an infinite space behind, and I'm so excited because I know that you are able, because I read and saw so much of you. You hold the space, and you are totally able without any. You don't need this special Anstrengung. Exertion to hold it. It's just there, and this is so relaxing for me. So you just hold the space, and the door are these questions, and then it's like opening. It's open. Yes. It opens everything.
And anyone that identifies like an assumption, a judgment that's bothering them, and then just meditates on that with these doors, these 4 questions and turnarounds, then it's all shown to them. And it does take stillness. And it's no one can free us. Only we can do that. And it's a practice that I invite people into, at least an hour, maybe every day in the morning, just sitting with yourself. And just noticing the thoughts of past and future that go by, and maybe grabbing one and writing it down, and then just meditating on that for an hour, just supporting it through those 4 questions and turnaround. That meditation will wake you up until finally you understand and what you're talking out of is real experience rather than what we want it to be. It's pure, and there's no ego in it. And of course, that would be up to the perceiver to see that or not. But you're free, and that's the point.
So if I understand correctly, the process of doing the inquiry is to liberate the person from false assumptions about themselves, and to give them the freedom of removing that overriding layer, so to speak, and then giving them the freedom to experience their true nature. Now, we've spoken about memories. When you asked me about breakfast, an image comes up. It's kind of a movie that I'm kind of going through, and then I have an experience, and I can then say to myself, yes, I had breakfast in this morning. Now, if by means of doing the work I'm kind of coming back to being in the moment, nonetheless, if I want to do something tomorrow, like I have a plan, for example, for tomorrow, I kind of have to create a movie. Automatically is created in my mind. It looks at the past movie, and I need it to construct the future movie. So my question would be, if I remove all the movies, am I still able to act in a responsible way with aims and goals, and maybe even wanting to achieve something, or is that completely removed and happens semi-automatically or automatically even?
Well, see, what you're pointing to now, what this question points to now is fear. It's if I get really serious about waking up to reality, how will I live my life safely? Well, that just shows you you're not awake to reality yet. And so I would identify what I was thinking and believing, and that would be the next thing I meditate on the next morning, or any available time anytime available. And if I've often said, if you want a little fear and tear, get a future. If you want a little depression, get a past. but they're both up for inquiry. There's nothing. The ego sees everything as sacred. It's how it stays identified. But when we begin to question it, the ego starts to let go, and it starts to find. I'm just finishing up a new book. It's called The Mind at Home with Itself. Mm-hmm. And the ego begins to feel safe and begins to rest and find that home in itself, where it is not, the fear is gone. So, and to answer your question, to get something done in what you see as a future, I'll just say, no. You will, in my experience, it's, the future is just these are questions that people want to know, but what I can tell you, what I can promise you is it's going to be okay. It's going to be more than okay. You'll begin, if you take this practice on, this inquiry, you'll have thoughts of the future and you'll just laugh. What I can tell you is, for example, this interview today, not only did I keep my commitment, I was ready on time, a little early, and as prepared as I could possibly be, meaning, I found your address on Skype. I'm not very good at those things, and usually I have help, and I'm traveling now, so now what am I discussing? Not the future, the past. So the future is always the past. There's only the past.
And the now. That's awesome.
And it's just language is it just points to what isn't.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
So just noticing, here, now, and where did that now go? Gone. No evidence other than the illusion of I. Where's my proof that I'm here now? Gone.
So we don't need the I to be there for existence to be.
It's an illusion. And what existence would that be? Show me existence. So when we're awake to the dream world, it's marvelous. Marvelous. And what is awake to the ego, to the dream world? No one.
In the time of preparing the online summit, my father disappeared. He died. So I'm thinking of him right now. Somehow he is here and somehow he is not here.
Well, he's there in your imagination.
Yes.
And that's the only proof you even have ever had a father.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's up to you.
Yes.
And what I love about the work is when you're working with maybe an argument you had with your father, maybe some unfinished business, and you do a worksheet, and those are always free on thework.com as well. And you would do a worksheet on what you were thinking and believing in the middle of that, while you were in that argument. You would collect what you were thinking and believing then. And then you would question your thoughts. In other words, you would work them. And then anytime that image of your father comes into your head, you feel a connectedness and a joining, because you are no different than the image. And there is a connectedness, and we have terms for it here, like there is a love and this feeling of incredible gratitude, and so there's never sadness. And there's no death. I've often said, no one can leave me. They don't have that power. And everything is welcome here. And that's the power of awakeness. It's on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, on the last question to fill in is, what is it that you never want to experience with that person or that situation again? And for example, I don't ever want to argue with my children again. On that particular one, on the worksheet, it turns around to, well, first you question it. I argued with my children. Is it true? And you take it all the way through. I look forward to arguing with my children again, because it shows me where I'm still asleep and what has not been worked at the deepest level that would give me peace. Freedom from suffering. And when we're suffering, in that illusion, the people around us suffer.
Wow. So we actually have a responsibility to remove our own suffering.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Because, if I'm not free, I'm living in a world of suffering. When I'm free, everyone is free. And that's not, that I is not personal.
So it's really welcoming everything that is, everything that's occurring.
Yes.
It's a real mind shift, isn't it?
Well, it truly is. We're not meditating the things that aren't pleasant for us. We're not meditating them away. We're literally calling them in and sitting with them. And, I see thoughts and judgments and assumptions like as children that have not been, that we haven't been patient with. As children that are just out of control and frightened and asleep. So we just bring them in, identify them one at a time, and just while the others scream, Just say, I'm working with this one, I'll get to you later. And if you really mean it, mind begins to trust itself. And it'll be still while you work with just one assumption at a time, that worksheet, and until finally just peace. And I'm willing not to have peace. I look forward not to have peace. For people who really want peace, it shows us what we need to work next.
What I find so fascinating is, one could take the view of forgiving. Yes, you could kind of say, oh, I must forgive him, I must forgive her. But what you're actually doing with that mindset is you're kind of cementing the thing that you're trying to forgive. Whereas with your approach, it's quite different, because you're dissolving it into nothing. Because by questioning it, and then at the end doing the turnaround, you kind of realize yourself, there's nothing there. There's nothing there to forgive.
Yeah. Yes, it's forgiveness is seeing that there is nothing to forgive. Anything short of that is not forgiveness. Anything short of that says, I forgive you, which tells us both you really did it.
Yeah. It's not really possible. It's asking too much. I think sometimes it's asking too much. To forgive is actually far more difficult, and really you're always going to expect something in return for your forgiveness. Whereas when you dissolve it, that's it. It's resolved. It's done.
It's forgiven. You are just so right on that. Anything less than that is not forgiveness.
It's beautiful. Very inspiring.
It's like we take this identity out here. We see, like, this is that person that did that to me. And so when I think of that person in my head, that's the person that did that to me. So now, let's say it's the next day. We can even say the next moment, but let's say the next day, that person walks into our lives, and we put what we believed onto that object, that body. And let's say it's my husband. He walks in to the room and said, "Good morning, honey." And I'm putting yesterday's story onto that body. And so I can't say, "Oh, good morning, honey." I go, "Yeah, sure." Yeah. So that's a case of mistaken identity. Now, if I have dissolved that issue, done my work on it, he says, "Good morning, honey," and it doesn't matter what he does. I'm meeting him for the very first time, and I see a very appealing. Another way of saying it is, I'm connected. And if I am less than connected with any human being, then I am superimposing what I believe onto that innocent. So that keeps me separate. I have not met a stranger in 30 years. They're all, as we say, we've heard this kind of talk, but they're my sisters, they're my brothers, they're myself.
Yes.
It's a fearless state of mind that only joins. And then the ego would say, don't get too close. Don't get too close. Something terrible could happen. So I would put that on paper immediately. And we have cell phones. We can put that in our cell phone and hold it for the next mornings or the next hour of meditation that we're going to sit in.
Yes.
And just get still, meditating on that. For example, that man is dangerous. He is going to hurt me. A stranger on the street, or he can't be trusted, or there's something wrong with him. You know, these thoughts that we put on these innocents. And, you know, there's no trial. They're guilty the moment we believe our thoughts about them. And we discuss, you know, we see all the proof there. And we don't even know what's going on. We're asleep to the dream world. All we know is we cross the street, or we don't get too close to them. You know, we avoid our eye contact. So that's a fearful world. And for people in inquiry, it's, people that want peace, my job is to make sure that as many people in the world that understand that these 4 questions exist, you know, that they exist. And they're, as you say, they're a door to peace.
Yes, please do.
Well, I am. When someone decide to make inquiry, I have the question now: who is deciding really? Maybe we can talk about this. Who is really deciding? Who is, well?
Who's the one?
Who's the one?
Okay, it would be. I made up my mind to do inquiry just now.
Yeah.
Now, where is that now? Past. So it wasn't decided. It just is. It just appears to be.
Can I just come in there? From what we've spoken now, it's become quite clear that the experience of living, when one has removed the programs or removed the false assumption, or when they've dissolved, let's put it that way, then the experience of living is fundamentally a different one.
Well, actually, you are not living when you go that far.
Okay, you're not living. So, what are you in that state of mind?
Well, you know, we could name it a witness, but not really. It's the same for the witness.
It's amazing. I was going to ask, because in a sense, if you're not living, you might also say there's no creation. Because if you remember, my initial question was, what is behind creation, and what is the meaning of life? Would be another question. And I'm kind of asking myself, with the suffering, and I'll put it in inverted commas, with all the suffering in the world, one could assume that creation is somehow imperfect because there is all this suffering. And look
what appears to be creating it. We all have to be responsible, or let's say I have to be responsible for what's creating it. Believing, attachment. We don't attach to things. We, like these thoughts, go in and out, and we believe one. That's attachment. And that becomes identity. And this is happening in time constantly. So we just, through inquiry, we just start to wake up. And it's so fast. It's so direct. It meets itself solidly and lovingly. And, you know, that's the only way it can, for it to be effective. It's got to be, you know, that intention, I want to know.
Would it be fair to say that we all awake to the same, to pure awareness, and hence if we all awake to the same, we are all one and the same?
Yes.
There is only the one. There's
no one that is asleep. In other words, we all hold equal wisdom. It's the thoughts we're believing, the judgments and assumption about the world, about ourselves, those unquestioned thoughts, those thoughts we're believing, you know, that is the world that we're leaving when we begin to take inquiry on as a practice. And inquiry is it's so powerful because your answers meet the questions. Your wisdom meets the questions, so there's no teacher in it. You know, I can give experience, but I can't give anyone freedom. That is within, we'll say, each of us.
Yes.
And there it is. And the questions are calling. And it's met, that calling is met with truth. And that truth sets us free.
It's interesting. The concept of free will is just coming up in me. We're going to ask you regarding free will, but from what I gather now is there isn't really a free will as such. It's freeing ourselves from the illusion that allows things to be as they are. But the identified individual doesn't really have a free will, or does he?
No, there's you know, the ego would say, I made that decision. You know, I did it. I'm right. You know, it's always, I know. But then if you take that to inquiry, that dissolves very easily and very quickly if freedom is your, really what you're looking for.
So how do you relate to the idea of surrender? What does that mean to you?
Surrender, you know, to me, whether I surrender or not, it is what it is.
But is surrender an adequate frame of mind to be in to commence doing the work? Is that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Surrender to the wisdom that appears to you when you sit in inquiry, eyes closed, meditating on a concept of judgment.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, that is a beautiful state of mind. You know, for inquiry to work, it really does take a surrender to what you're shown.
Yeah, it kind of answers the question I had, earlier on when I said, what about being totally in the moment? What about the past and the future? I guess one just surrenders to that.
I'm not sure I understood. You know, if I'm living in the world and I think I'm walking, let's say, and I'm on my way to the market, and I've planned that all morning. I've got my list, and so now I'm going toward the market, and I see the market in my mind's eye. Is that real, or is that imagination? So I don't even know that the market exists. I don't know where I'm going. I'm surrendered to that. I don't know why I'm going. I surrender to that. I'm here now, and it amazes me that the ground, that my next footstep supports my next footstep. It's like some kind of, I'm just in. It's so fascinating that even the ground is imagination, even though that I that is stepping on it appears to be stepping on it, but that too in the past.
Yeah, it sounds almost paradisical. I was just wondering, however, if one might react with fear to this sensation. Yeah, the thought that this is all just an imagination and I'm just an imagination. I would assume that many people have a fear reaction to that.
Well, you know, it gets down to who am I and going all the way. And it's not a decision we can make. It's a gift that's given as we sit in inquiry. And it only comes when we're ready for it. I've watched, I've talked to people that lose they're meditating and they lose identification. And so the next time, and it's very frightening. And in the ideas, I went too far, or this is too much. So the next time they're meditating, they are, we'll say, remembering, perceiving that, so their meditation is shut down. But if you have inquiry, you can identify the thoughts you were thinking, and I do this with people a lot. And if there's any of your viewers interested in this, if you have ever felt like you have gone into a really frightening place, loss of identity, when you are meditating, you can always go back and identify what assumption or what judgment brought you back, brought you out of that state, back into this this apparent physical reality. And so that frees a person up to just continue to experience the unlimited, the unidentified. And inquiry is so helpful that way, because in that non-identification, anything that would frighten you back as a physical body, let's say, in other words, ego life, you can always question and make great headway.
It's interesting. Just thinking of something Ramana Maharshi said once. He said, if you want to awake, your desire for waking has to be as strong as a drowning man's desire for air, for a breath of air. Now, with the work, you can kind of turn it round, in a sense. You have to be prepared to die. You have to be willing. The surrender actually includes the death of the individual, of the ego that you're identified with. And I think that's probably the fear. When you mentioned the fear earlier on, when I was asking about how can I live my future if I don't relate it to a past, it's obviously a fear. Yes.
Yeah, and it's what I can say is, here you are, it appears, and here the two of you are, and here I am, it appears. So it's all good in this. It's all good just now.
Yeah.
If you look back at your life, other than what you were thinking and believing, you've never been in danger, ever. Ever, ever. You've always been okay. And I invite your viewers to not believe me, but to test it for themselves. And the work is that test.
Yeah.
I guess we all have to face the fact that we're mortal, and I'm assuming that many people come to you and are in the face of death. Maybe they're very ill and they know they're going to die soon. How do you deal with the fact that we are born, we live, and we all appear to die? How do you deal with mortality?
Well, I have sat with people that are dying and appear to die, but they don't die. They are who I believe them to be, and they can never be more or less than that. And people don't fear death, they fear life. What we fear about life, if we question our thoughts about that we fear in life, then we come to understand that we really are projecting that onto death as well. So as we cease to fear life, we cease to fear death. The end of fear is the end of fear. But I was with my mother when she died, and I'm still waiting for her to die, and it's been several years now. I mean, you probably saw an image of my mother, and you've never met her. When I said mother, my dying mother, you saw an image of my dying mother.
Yes.
So here we have 3 different dying mothers. So one's real.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you might say, well, Byron Katie was with her mother when she died and passed on the rumor.
How does that put into perspective what one achieves with one's life? You know, many people have the urge, they kind of want to leave, they want to leave a trace, they want to do something with purpose. I mentioned earlier on the purpose of life. What is the purpose of life? And many people seem to feel, I've got to get a good profession, I've got to find a nice wife or a nice husband, have kids, and achieve all sorts of things in the visible world. But at the end of the day, that kind of all disappears. So,
well,
in relation to mortality, what's really relevant in life?
For me, kindness. You know, this kindness above all else. And I really, if someone believes they're suffering, to just be there while they're in that trance, and eventually the trance changes. And they either work with the illusions, or they try to forget them, or they live in fear, or both. But to question them is to end it. And so it cannot reoccur in the future if you really ended it. I'm talking about fear.
Yes.
I'm having thoughts of how difficult it may be for some of your viewers to take this in, and finding myself very grateful that the work is free on thework.com.
Yes.
You can see that this may sound a bit complicated, and just to see for themselves how simple to find freedom.
Yes. Katie, can we give you are in Europe. I don't know if you are right now in Germany. I don't know. Right now?
I'm in Switzerland.
I am Switzerland. So, well, we come to visit you in Switzerland this year also. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Can we make a gift for the German-speaking people? Maybe we can do is that we can. You can say the first question in German. Is it true? I can help you if. Ist das wahr?
Is it true?
Yes.
And the second question is, can you absolutely know?
Yes.
That assumption is true.
Yes.
Let's say the assumption is he hurt me.
Yeah.
So is it true?
Mm-hmm.
Can you absolutely know that it's true?
Yeah.
That he hurt you?
Yeah.
And then wait for that yes or no to be shown to you. And it'll be shown to you through images. Your answers will come. And then the third question, notice how you react. What happens to your life when you believe this thought, he hurt you? And to notice how you treat him. Just meditate on how you react when you believe the thought he hurt you. And images show you.
Yeah.
Are you cold? Are you bitter? Are you angry? Are you depressed? How do you react? What happens when you believe the thought? And then as you witness what is shown of that apparent past, you move to the next one when that's complete. Who would you be without the thought he hurt you? Would you be in that same situation, in that same moment, if you didn't believe it? Would you be without the thought? And then you meditate on that. And then you turn it around, he hurt me. And opposite is, he helped me. So why was that a help? Why did that help you? And notice how your ego screams, it didn't help, it hurt. And then just notice, just let it have its story, and then just go back to he helped me. And see, for me, love is everything. It's a friendly universe. So he helped me. It's really worth looking at if someone hit me, how that helped me. Mm. And for one thing, it brought me to inquiry. Mm. We find other examples. Shows me who not to be with. Mm-hmm. Who wants to be with someone that hurts you like that. Mm. And so we're just meditating on these turnarounds. And he hurt me, another turnaround, I hurt him. Mm. Okay, so he really hurt me, but where did I hurt him? Mm. And then to identify those actions, what I said, what I did that was hurtful. And then to make that right. To make that right with myself as just a loving, caring human being. Mm. And as long as we're doing inquiry, there's no, I can't just say I am, it didn't happen, that's the past. If I'm troubled, it didn't, it's a past, just isn't good enough. I've got to find peace in it. That's what inquiry says. Mm. So is it true? Can you really know that it's true? How do you react when you believe the thought? Who you be without it? And then find opposites for the concept you're working with and try it on, those turnarounds, try them on like you're trying on a new pair of shoes. Just meditate. Meditating on, see where it fits.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Oh, you're welcome. You two were delightful.
It was so great. Much.
And thank you for your service. This non-duality interest of yours, it really does cut to the chase. And it really is the end of suffering, and thank you for your good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. If I may just add, people can obviously find the work, you've mentioned it, on the website www.thework.com. They can also meet you in person. You do trainings, live trainings in the United States, I believe also in Europe. Claudia mentioned it, you are currently in Switzerland, you're in Engelberg, I believe, at the moment. You're also going to be do a 9-day school in Bad Neuenahr. These projects are like an ongoing thing that will people have.
That 9-day school for the work, my events, while I'm here in Europe, we're on the website, thework.com. That 9-day school for the work, that is 9 days of just sitting in inquiry and watching how we're identified and through prejudice and separation and men and women and sexuality and these things and parenting and work on our mothers and fathers and husbands and brothers, but all these segues that the ego loves to take, we sit in those for 9 days, and it's a very beautiful 9 days, and of course I invite the world to that.
Great.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much. And I'm happy to say that we will meet in Switzerland in a few weeks. So
good. So you're going to be at the Being With.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a beautiful event.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, and I look forward to that. Be sure and stop me and say hello.
Yes, we say hello. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Katie.
Bye. Bye.
Well, that was quite a conversation.
This was a conversation, yes.
Yes. Well, I hope that it's helpful,
Yes, of course.
and I trust that it is.
Yes, absolutely. Totally.
Absolutely. It was very deep. Very nice.
Very, 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 very good. It's amazing. I was going to ask, how did you ever discover it and its efficiency? Because it's such a, it's very compact. It's,
Yeah.
you don't need to study 20 Advaita books.
There's nothing superfluous. It's entirely direct.
Yeah.
And I just noticed on the floor that when I believe my thoughts, I suffer, and when I question them, I don't suffer. I just woke up out of a dead sleep one morning. A cockroach crawled over my foot and opened my eyes, and I just saw it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Such a gift.
Yes.
So I'll see you in Engelberg.
Definitely.
Yes.
Bye-bye, lovely.
Bye.
Bye, Katie.